Yo, peep these patch notes.
It is called Atomic Picnic. So full transparency, just for everybody out there and making sure we cover our bases. This was created by obviously OTK. I work for a subsidiary of OTK. And so I'm putting it out there. Yes, I got the game for free. But that is not by any way, shape, or form kind of altering my opinion on this game.
I would hope not. You had some gaming journalist looking gameplay there for a second.
If you got it from OTK, they should have taught you how to jump.
Yeah, dude. So there's a couple
that was
things.
Some Cuphead level shit right there.
Let's talk a little bit about the game, right? So what Atomic Picnic is, and kind of what you're seeing here is obviously, this is the tutorial start mode. I will say that it's in early access, but this part specifically, it doesn't it kind of throws you in, and it puts this stuff on here being like, hey, dude, this is how you do it, but it doesn't teach you very well, in that sense. It's not.
The yellow paint's not helping you get there.
It's not about the yellow paint because okay, you guys can give me shit all you want, but what I'm telling you is in this, it's oh, hey, go and basically you get a double jump, but you only get a double jump based off of the grapple, but it doesn't tell you that the grapple is the thing that is over on the left hand side or right hand side that is on a timer, because that is your shift button, which is your dash. So your dash and your double jump are all part of the same move. But you're not grappling to you can't grapple to a rock and then grapple to something else. It's just weird. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that because what I want to talk about is the game itself is a cross between Risk of Rain 2 and Vampire Survivors. And so and it is a co-op based game. You load into a section or arena. And basically you have your character and you're shooting on, you're gathering these crystals. You've got fast reload. You're going to have roguelike elements that pop up that allow you to boost your character in a different way, for that run. Doing different abilities. Whenever you reload, you're going to get a sound wave that's going to happen. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit so we can get into kind of some of the further gameplay, but you're essentially just, again, playing Vampire Survivors or playing Risk of Rain, right? You're going for as long as you can, trying to complete the run. You get different elements that show up where you can these rare spawns that add something to the quote unquote picnic, where you can go in and lower your cooldown, or there's a jukebox that you have to defend. Art style, music, gameplay, it feels really good. It plays really well. I've not had any kind of issues whatsoever. Again, I've only played about maybe an hour of it or so. But it's very responsive. It doesn't feel super as chaotic as it may seem on screen. It actually feels pretty good. When you're doing other things, the only thing I would complain about is maybe the UI for the reload. It kind of blends in a lot. So when you're trying to reload, you may miss the active reload system on it, but you're kind of seeing there where you get these different elements that you can make your character better. One of them is a teapot that whenever you reload, it does a shockwave around you. One of them may be whenever you dash, you leave fire behind you. And a lot of different kind of movement abilities, making it vertical as well as horizontal. Enigma, I know you popped in and saw a little bit of it. I'd like to know your kind of thoughts on what you saw.
No, right off the bat, as soon as I came in, I was like, bro, this reminds me extremely heavily of Risk of Rain meets just like you said, Vampire Survivors or that genre in general. And it looked good. I mean, I like the art style. I like the way that the combat did. I do agree with you. The combat did look like it felt pretty smooth. My only question was is there a decent amount of abilities and the ability modifiers that you get, or is it very basic? Have you run into a large variety of those powers that you can get?
I mean, kind of what you're seeing here, right, is you're still there's different characters. Characters have different guns. And then you have different.
That makes sense for the Risk of Rain.
Yeah, different abilities and things. You have different gear impulses that you can use. One of them, there was a grenade. And then on top of that, you upgrade your character's stats. So there's a whole stat, kind of build that you can then build your character out to where they do more crit damage and all of those types of things. So yes, I mean, again, it's still very early. It's still early access, so I don't think there's like just a massive amount. Like, don't go in expecting that you're going to get like 40 different characters and 200 different abilities, right? Think about like when Risk of Rain, 2 originally dropped.
Yeah,
that's kind of like what you're getting at. What I love about the game is go ahead.
I was about to say it seemed like you were able to you were able to make some pretty decent builds. Like it seemed like it had enough of a variety that you could make like distinctive builds between the two. I think I saw you play 2 different builds. I don't know how far along you were when I came in or not, but
yeah, I mean, I was playing. So you caught me on my second map that I was playing on. And just in those 2 maps that I was playing, 2 completely different builds. I mean, you have some cards that do show up, or
of course,
I think they're called Curios, like Curio. That show up that are similar, but like one of them, I got a Gatling gun. And I think what the game kind of does is it senses kind of like how you're playing and what you're choosing, and then starts to feed you some options that maybe like synergize really, really well. So there's obviously the roguelike element with that, but I think it also kind of tries to help you out, saying like, oh, you just got the minigun aspect, so now we're going to give you something that says like, hey, the longer that you're holding down without shooting without reloading, then you're going to do more damage. Well, obviously with the minigun, it's just you basically hold the trigger down and then you're just shooting, and so yeah.
So this
I mean,
is like Hades. I'm getting
yeah.
Hades,
I
not
mean,
the
in
top
certain ways.
down, but in certain ways, Hades.
I mean, I would
more Risk of Rain. Risk of Rain and
Yeah.
Hades have a similar system with
Very
like
similar play
getting
style.
pickups.
Yeah.
You have choices to do, and then
I've never
those
played Risk
kind
of
of
Rain.
culminate into like OP builds and
Tony.
whatnot.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I do reckon. I mean, Risk of Rain 2, for sure, is very,
Is it
very
totally?
close to this. Like the Hades element. I mean, I could maybe see with like the card stuff, but like if you played Risk of Rain 2, you'd be like, oh yeah, this feels like this is Risk of Rain 2. Like feels very, very close to it. Enemy variety is really cool. Like even just like again, the 2 maps that I played, like I was dealing with like these little guys that were floating, things that were popping up, snakes that were shooting things at me, like chart. I mean, just all these different kind of things. And it just hits, man. Like it gives you the dopamine hits that like I even think that like as much as I love Risk of Rain 2, that Risk of Rain 2 missed out on, right? Like the flashiness, the colors, the different, like the sound, the beat, like it just, there's so many things that this is just like really just giving you and hitting on. Especially I think coming off of like talking about a gacha game, like not that this is gacha in any way, shape or form, right? But some of like, there are the visual elements of it. There's a lot of things that like that you look at this and go, oh yeah, this like I could get some of those elements of why like people like the visual elements of gacha or Genshin or ZZZ.
Without the assets.
Without the assets.
Does it have a similar difficulty scale as Risk of Rain does, or how does like how hard does it get like as you progress?
Does it get harder the longer you're in the?
So
you're in the map?
I definitely was. I at first I was like, wow, this seems really easy. And
because it looks like that, but I can kind of tell by the enemy type and variety,
it
like
will get crazy.
It gets crazy. I bet.
It will. So at first, like I would, like I said, like I was just like, oh, this is simple. Like I'm kind of dodging everything. And I'm keeping everything in these like 2 little corridors. Very quickly, the game starts to elevate and escalate.
Game was like, okay,
yeah, especially as like you're leveling up. The
tutorial was over.
Yeah, so you do have objectives for each picnic that you go on. This one was like reach level 10, right? And you do that by obviously killing enemies and grabbing spheres.
Is that like just the beginner like kind of starter?
I think so. Again, I'm not
some
super
games
far
do that
into it. Yeah,
where it's like just a one time only, like your first.
I'm sure
run.
that they will add endless modes into it.
Yeah.
And kind of continue to add different variation of game modes. One of the things I like, it's got co-op right out of the bat. So
that is cool.
That's dope.
Yep.
Yeah.
So online co-op, experiencing with a friend.
I really
love to see what it's like.
Yeah, as I was about to say, the only downside that I can see to that is like for an early access game, I'm not like, how much content is there actually? Do you think?
I mean, it's the game's $20. I think that you could get.
Do you think that's a fair price?
You know, yes. Again, I've not spent enough time with it to be able to really shell out and say like, hey, like there is a good enough for 20. I don't think, like, to me, I've always said that like $20 is kind of that sweet spot for games.
Yeah, it's not
I
bad,
agree.
especially for this style of game where it's like Risk of Rain meets like
Pretty common.
like you said. Yeah, it's a very common price tag
Yeah.
for those types of games. So
Right.
I'm just curious, based off of like how much content there would it be worth the $20? Like, are you going to get a decent amount of content
I
out of
think
it?
that you could get enough fun out of the game. Again, is this something
How
that
many-
you just sit down, mainline it, and what? Like, no, right? Like, this is
how many characters are there?
right now,
did
I
you
believe
see?
there's 4 or 5that you can unlock.
That's not bad.
You know,
It's not too terrible.
and then again, each one of those characters then has their own skill trees that you're unlocking. You know, you're able to then dump also more and more into your like gadgets and change
Yeah.
those up. You're also able to there's this thing called a memento grid that pops up whenever you're done with a mission or picnic. And inside that, like, there's like, I mean, that's pretty large. Like, that is a very large
Yeah.
grid. And like, you unlock different things, and based off of what those unlock, like, you're able to then grow a character even more. You know, so
Are those character specific or are they like account specific?
what the mementos?
Yeah,
Yeah, the mementos are account specific.
they're account wide. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
On there. Again, I think if you're a fan of the games that are like, hey, I want to go in, I just want to shoot shit, or I want to kill shit, I want to level my character, I want to see the number go up and or whatever else, and then you want like more of a free roam shooter like this, I like more than I would like the original Vampire Survivors. Don't get me wrong, like I love Vampire Survivors, but like I like the freedom that this gives, the verticality this gives, the shooting, all that kind of stuff.
I'm
I
just
like it a lot.
I'm just trying to figure out a reason why I would ever pick this over Risk of Rain 2. Like to be honest with you, like it looks fine, it looks passable if Risk of Rain 2 didn't exist, but I'm just don't see any spots right now where this excels enough over Risk of Rain 2 for me not to just go for the established and
Yeah,
I'm kind of with you there, Bill. I don't know, because like I can't tell either.
everything I'm seeing looks like it's just, I don't want to say a rip of Risk of Rain 2 because they are adding new mechanics and stuff like that to it, but it doesn't feel like it differentiates enough to be able to pull from Risk of Rain 2's market in at all, or even coexist beside of it just because it's so samey.
So as someone that has spent, you know, a decent amount of time in Risk of Rain 2, obviously I've not dumped as much as like, you know, Scruffy or anybody like that, right? I can tell you that, you know, I would say like watching it and looking at it, at least on a podcast where there's no audio, you're not really getting the feel for it. I would say, okay, cool, I get that. But really, when you're playing it, like you do get to a point, like I am more drawn to this. I don't know. You know, I think, like, don't get me wrong, like Risk of Rain 2 is great, but there's something about this hits really, really well. And what it does extremely, extremely well. And it's a lot of fun. You know, and
Well, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
yeah, I mean, I'm not shitting on Risk of Rain 2 at all. I definitely understand your point of saying like, hey, like this is very, you know, reminiscent of Risk of Rain, and that style. I don't. I'm gonna put more time into it. You know, and I can give you kind of a better. But I think for $20, I think you're gonna get if you like Risk of Rain 2, you've played Risk of Rain 2, it's you know, you're done with it or whatever else, you put it down. You like these types of games, I think it's a well $20 spent. I don't think that you're going to be upset with it. It sounds great, it plays great, it feels great, runs great. I mean, it really is, and it's only going to continue to get better. You know, with that. So,
Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
And this is level based. Like it's not like each map is like a new level, right? Or
yeah,
are
so you have different
one-
zones you go into that
Okay.
correct. You know, and I wish I could find
figure
like
that out.
an area. Let me see if I can get back to like if I die, I can kind of show you like where you end up going. But you end up coming back to like this hub zone. Here's the mementos things that I was telling you about. But you end up going back to a hub zone. The hub zone's actually pretty large, so I really think that they're gonna add quite a bit of. This is the hub zone. They're gonna add quite a bit of stuff to like what you're able to do and like what all of these things are. So that gives me a lot of hope for like what the game can you know potentially be. Like,
Potentially be.
I think that they know that they are going against Risk of Rain, and obviously, you know, they need to do
Hub
something.
zone's kind of cool. That does change it up a little bit from Risk.
I think the biggest thing that this has over Risk of Rain is just like you're saying, that the hub zone, they are adding in certain aspects of popular games that, like, the hub zone is something that everybody wants, especially on a co-op
the
game
curio
in general,
system
right?
being like
The
that,
curio system
that
is
pick
definitely
your path kind
the-
of style.
The
is
curio
cool.
system is definitely a different version, as well as just like the Vampire
Yeah.
Survivors aspects of it, where like as you're going through, and granted, Risk of Rain has that to an extent, right?
It's
like,
different,
it is very different from this, and that's I think
it's
that's
that you
where
pick
they're
up the
standing out a
coins and then
little
you
bit
kind
more.
of choose what you want to use
Yeah.
them for, instead of it like being every level you get a pop up.
A little more RNG in some instances, but also
In some
like you can
instances, yeah.
control it too if you know Risk of Rain. But
Yeah,
still,
for sure.
I don't know. I think the only thing I will disagree on with you, Bill, is I also probably would. I am more drawn to Risk of Rain, but I do think there's a chance for them to coexist. I think
too,
they
yeah.
do differentiate themselves just enough and give it that bit of a twist that if you don't want something, I think as hardcore as Risk of Rain can be, this is the
Yeah,
more
you also-
laxed shooter.
You also got to remember, Risk of Rain has been out for 5 years.
that was
now,
I was
almost?
going to bring that up
Yeah.
as well. Risk of Rain 2 has been out for a while. Gearbox.
It's been out for a while, you know.
Honestly, they probably did the best timing possible they could with it, with
Probably,
Gearbox
yeah.
taking over
Oh,
Risk
for
of Rain
sure.
2 and kind of pissing off the player base. So they might be looking to jump ship, and this might be a good place for them.
I'm telling you, man, the
Yeah.
game, it feels good. It feels really good. Like I actually said it on the or on the stream. I was like, this actually came out at a really great time right now. Like I've got Dragon Age, you know, obviously I'm playing. I've got Silent Hill 2, which before we go to your thing, Tony, I wanted to take a second to talk about fucking Silent Hill 2.
Oh God.
But yeah, I was like, dude, this is perfect. Like, this is a stopgap right now where I can jump in. It's not super going to take up a lot of my time. I can play this game for a little bit until Path of Exile 2 Marvel Rivals comes out. Like, I think that is what this game is, right? Like, this is not something that, and maybe it is something where there's a shit ton of secrets. You're gonna like, but it's just a fun game, $20. You know,
So-
I think it's worth it.
Wait.
So-
Once you complete a level, can you like go back to your hub, or is it constant? You have to keep going until you die?
Once you complete your objective, it sends you back to your hub, I believe.
So
I think.
there's a difference, because Risk of Rain is a commitment when you go into
True.
you know,
yeah.
a whatever, you know what I
You're
mean?
there.
A match.
You're there until you
you're
finish
in
the
it.
entire thing, or you die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is a bit
wow.
more jump in, jump out then.
So the only complaints that are, like, not even really complaint, just like the only observation that I can personally see in comparison to like what you have with Risk of Rain, this feels really close up to your character, whereas like if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
Risk of Rain, you can get way far back, and that's the only downside that I could see for me, at least, is like you've got so much going on around you in a lot of instances that like I would have trouble trying to just keep track of everything
So
without being that far out.
At first, I was like, yes, but when you start to synergize all these movement stuff that you're doing,
Yeah.
you really don't.
And
like,
once you get like AoEs, once you start building up like AoE abilities and everything like that, you're not gonna have to worry
yeah,
about
like
it as much. But
you,
like,
you don't. It very much and very quickly goes away. Like that fear
I
of
don't
like,
doubt
oh
it, yeah.
shit.
That's-
like, you know,
that's
it
just
goes
like
away.
my original my like introductory like observations of it was like, man, you're really close to your character for this style of game. That feels weird.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it works.
Do you have an active reload? Is that what I see?
Yeah, the little box that
okay.
you active reload, and if you and then there's
Oh,
abilities
okay.
that if you active reload, you will do more something or whatever
cool.
else.
That's
You
actually
have
pretty
like
dope.
curse things that'll like drop your health but up your damage, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Gotcha.
Nope. $20. What's it called again?
Atomic Picnic.
Atomic
And it's on Steam. Is it
Steam.
on?
It is on Steam. I don't know if it's
is it
on.
on- is it on
anywhere
consoles or
else.
anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know if it was on anywhere anywhere else. I can take a look. Give me one sec, and we will.
I got you.
check and
It is only on Steam.
see. Okay.
Thanks all for tuning in to the Patch Notes. And if you enjoyed and want to see more, you can catch us live every Thursday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, or catch us after the fact at anchor.fm/prepatch podcast. See you next time.